And so God would raise up a people who are tired of Babylon, tired of the way of being entangled in the clutches of the enemy, tired of the way of rebellion, tired of the way of disobedience. And I tell you, the redemption of God is not for you if you're not tired of Babylon. If you're not sick and tired of Babylon and you just want to get out. You're just tired, you're fed up of the darkness. You're tired, you're fed up of the evil work of the enemy in your life. And you see, when you're tired and you're fed up and you want God to rescue you and draw you out, you see, the Babylonians are very powerful, and unless God did something, they could not get out of Babylon unless the king would let them go. It needed a powerful work of God to bring them out from the hands of the enemy. Are you with me here? You see, you could not be free of the power of sin. You could not be free of the power of this evil enemy in this world unless God will make a way to free you from it. Are you with me here? You see, the Babylonians were the most powerful force that existed in that time. And so we see here that God put it in the heart of King Cyrus to free these people. And 42,000 of them, a remnant, went back to Jerusalem with tears and mourning in their hearts because of what had happened to them in the past. And they began from the rubble to rebuild the temple, to once again offer up sacrifices and worship in faithfulness. But 70 years, it took 70 years for them to realize that. I hope it doesn't take 70 years for you to have realized that. I hope it doesn't take that long for someone to realize their need to turn to God. I hope you realize the importance. I hope you realize how it is so important how you were created to walk and live in harmony with God and to walk in obedience to Him. It took too long for these people to realize that. And I hope it doesn't take long for you to turn to Him and realize your need for Him to rescue you from the hands of the enemy and bring you out into a special place. And here God gives them hope for the future. I know your past has been destructive. I know you've messed up. But it does not have to continue this way. I am bringing you out. I'm holding my hands out to you. And I'm going to bring you out into a spacious place. And you see, when they have chosen, maybe some, after 70 years of living in Babylon, 70 years of living in captivity, maybe some of them said, you know what? I don't want to go back to Jerusalem. I don't want to go back there again. And maybe some of them chose to stay. I don't know. 42,000 decided to leave in obedience to God, in obedience to His prophecy, to go back, to get out of Babylon. But one thing I know, and when we choose and we make a choice, that's why it says we are the product of the choices we have made in the past. And when we choose to pay attention to God, even today as you listen to His voice and you make a choice, God, I choose to pay attention to you. I choose to listen to you. I choose to follow your ways and your commands in my life. And we make a choice to come out of the darkness. We choose to be separate from that way of the world. We choose to come out of Babylon and embrace the ways of God once again, to live in reverence to Him, in worship and awe of Him. We make the choice. God has a precious promise to you. And so He says in verse 21, the word of encouragement to them. They must have been wondering, how will we've already have our lives here in Babylon. We've already learned the Babylonian way. We've already settled with the culture. Now we are called to go out of this place and once again go back to Jerusalem and start all over again. Maybe let's just stay here. But God makes a promise to them in all of these uncertainties, all of these fears that may have been trouble in their heart, whether to go or to stay, whether to go back to Jerusalem or just stay in Babylon. Could you just imagine that? God is asking you to go back to a city of ruins and start all over again when you already established yourself in a nice city, right? Are you with me here? And where would you prefer to stay? If God was to give you a choice, go to Africa or stay in the Philippines, where would you choose? Dito na ako, Lord. Diba? I'll just stay here. The city was in ruins. It was in shambles. And God says, go back. And if you choose to come out, and Babylon, and coming out of Babylon, as we will talk about later, is symbolic of something. Of coming out of the clutches of the enemy, coming out of unfaithfulness, coming out of rebellion, coming out of irreverence, and moving towards a place of worship and obedience to God once again. And He says to them, in all of these uncertainties and fears that may have troubled their heart, He says, remember the days in the Exodus when I brought you out of Egypt. When I was taking you to the promised land, did you lack anything? Did you lack water? When you needed water, I cracked the rock and water came out of the rock. When you needed food, I provided it to you from the skies. Even though you cannot find food in the wilderness, God will make a way to provide. You only need to obey Him. Some people think, hey, how can I give up this sin? If I give up this sin, then I will not have any livelihood. I will not have food to eat. I will not have these things that I like and desire. I want to tell you, if you obey God, then He will provide your needs. He has a way. He is God. You just have to obey Him. We don't know. We are going in obedience. That's why God blessed Abraham. Because even though he did not know where he was going, he went in obedience to God's command to him to go. Hallelujah. Some of us cannot come out of Babylon. We cannot come out of compromise. We cannot come out of the way of rebellion. We cannot come out of the way of irreverence to God. Because we think that those things are benefiting us in some way, but we realize that with walking with God is the only way of peace and righteousness and the goodness of God flowing in our life. And He says, just obey me and go. You don't have to reason about how you will find your means to survive. I have provided before, I can do it again. Hallelujah. We try to put God in a box. This is how God has to do things. This is how God must do these things. He must do these things my way. And God's blessings are new every morning. Today He could send food from the sky. He fed Elijah with the ravens. He has His way, and He is God. And I want to tell you, if you want to walk in that blessed faithfulness of God, then it will take an act, a choice of obedience on your part. What is it in your life? I want to ask you today, what is it in our lives that we just can't give up? We cling to Babylon. And as a result, we invite the discipline of God. We invite and provoke God to anger. We provoke Him to cut us off from His peace. And we talk about the grace of God, the grace of God, the grace of God. God says, just come out. I'll take care of you. Just come out. I'll take care of you. You don't know. You may not understand how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. You just walk by faith and not by sight. Just do it and I'll take care of you. they were to remember the past journey, how God had taken care of them. You know, I only wish I could tell you my story. You see, my wife and I, in our early years, I was a corporate executive, worked for several big companies, and one day I came to know the Lord. I had struggles for many years, obeying the call of God in my life, obeying the call to give up the ways of compromise, to give up the ways of disobedience, to give up the ways of irreverence. But one day God just told me, just give it up and come out. I will take care of you. It was hard because I was indeed earning a lot and successful. But I want to tell you, I may not be rich and wealthy with abundant material blessings in my life. But I want to tell you that all the days of my life in serving the Lord and preaching His word and going where He leads me to go, God has never failed to take care of me and my family.